So, hi, Jonathan. So, Jonathan, tell us who you are.
I'm Jonathan Fabricant, and I'm a New York native, transplant to the Hudson Valley, Copake, and I come from an artist family and went to SUNY Purchase and Brooklyn College. And I've been everything from a plein air painter to a cityscape painter to a abstract artist to a wall relief artist, and always been a printmaker in between all those things. And now I would say I'm solely a printmaker.
Okay. So, for me, one of the fascinating things about watching artists show here is their sense of what it is that they're putting up or what they're finding in their own process of being here. Is there anything, so you just finished hanging this, so, and often that's a bit of an issue for me, is that I don't really know what the work is yet. Towards the end of the show I will, but has there been anything that's popped out as far as intriguing to you about what's going on here uniquely?
A couple things came up. I was, first of all, very excited to have a big wall. First, I was very nervous about it, but because my pieces aren't that big, and I really realized it was an opportunity for me to see all the different series that I'd made together. And I work in small series, like 10 to 15 pieces, and then I move on. I work with the same method in many ways, but I tend to jump around. And I always like seeing my work with one series with another. So I was happy to have that opportunity to do that.
Okay. Can you tell us anything about the process that this wall shows in terms of how you print?
We could go over here. This might be a good illustration. I always have a grid. You'll always see a grid. Even in a piece like this, there is a grid of some sort. And I always have a geometric unit of some sort. These are geometric units. You can see that they are in this piece. You can see this one here very clearly in this piece here. Oh, I'm sorry, got in the way. And the geometric unit is designed to repeat in the grid in different ways to create what are, for me, surprises and interesting visual elements that will occur. So I don't really know what the pieces are going to be at the beginning. I have some idea, but through the process, I'll find more. And sometimes I make more elements. Here's another group here that makes this piece here. You can see that this does not fit in this. This isn't. You can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and here there's 1, 2, 3. And what happens is I print it in 4 corners. So there's all these overlaps that create the color interest and the variation. I think the thing about a grid is that it can become very overwhelming and somewhat boring. I don't know if that's the right word, but just overwhelming. It overwhelms the piece. So I'm always trying to escape the grid and find something that transcends it. But I love having it, because as a printmaker, you need to know where you are. You can't, it's not like painting where you can see the end of your brush. You're flipping something upside down and sticking it on a press, and it can be very confusing. This piece here, for instance, is printed from this block. And it's printed by just turning the block 1/4 turn each time it's printed and changing the colors. So I call it 3/4 round, because if you print it, because the unit actually is 3/4 of a square. Round is a little bit, saying the word round is a little confusing, but it turns around. That's why I used it. So if I keep printing it because it's 3/4, eventually you cover the entire piece. The trick is to make the color work and not become too saturated by itself, you know, to make some variation come out.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No.
I was just going to point out more of the same, like
Okay.
this one's very clearly, you can see the unit. It creates this crazy abstract pattern. This is actually the same idea. It may be exactly the same composition, it's a different size, but you can see the unit. And one thing I didn't mention is I often will use homemade dice to decide on the orientation. So I'll make a dice that says up, down, left, right, and that's the way I'll put the unit. And sometimes I even choose colors. Each one of these will be a number, and I'll throw a dice that will say red, yellow, blue, or orange. You know, like I'll use the primary and tertiary colors using a dice, so there's kind of a random quality. Sometimes I mess with that. I'm not strict about that, but I often will use the element of chance or to make some choices so that I can get away from composing from the get-go. I do compose, but it happens later, when the piece suggests what needs to be done, not when I have some big idea about it.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate you being here, and I'm excited to see how I experience this piece over the next 7 weeks.
And I want to thank you for the opportunity and this incredibly beautiful space to show in. So.
Okay, take care.
Yeah.